My name is Daniel. My wife stole my name, not the letters, the permissions attached to it, the passwords, the signatures, the little green checks that mean approved. She learned the rhythm of my life, and then she learned to mimic it. She signed my name to a bank account I didn't know we had, a store card I never carried, a pre-approved line of credit that arrived like junk mail and left like a quiet burglary. The first time I realized it, I was standing at a pharmacy arguing with a register that said declined. The clerk blinked at me like I'd brought the wrong face for the card. At dinner that night, she laughed, soft, apologetic, and told me she'd fixed it. She kissed me like a seal pressed on an envelope. I wanted to believe her because belief keeps a marriage warm longer than truth does. She said it was a billing mix-up. She said the bank had made a mistake. She said, breathe, the way a yoga instructor types exhale under a motivational photo. Her name is Mara. Her job was to make other people's lives look neat on the internet. She called herself a coach, then a consultant, then a strategist. She sold air with a bow tied around it, vision boards and money mindset, and executive boundaries. She knew how to turn threats into aesthetics. She could make an apology go viral. What she took wasn't just money, she took narrative. She edited our life for public consumption and left the unedited parts to mold in a drawer. When she spoke about us online, I became my husband, a supporting character. When she sold courses about partnership, she cropped my face out of the frame. By the time I caught up to the debt, it had a personality. It didn't shout. It sent letters with fonts that sound like sighs. Late fees are printed in gray. Gray looks reasonable even when it is lethal. I went through the accounts while she slept. Her breath slow and fake sweet like a diffuser set too high. The numbers felt like pins in a map of a country I didn't remember crossing. Purchases stacked like shingles, not diamonds or luxury. Worse, logistics. Ads. Sponsor posts. Brand assets. A subscription to a service that teaches you how to sell subscriptions. All of it in my name, because she needed her name to stay clean. I woke her. I didn't shake her. I said her name with the voice you use when you think you might be speaking to a stranger. She opened one eye. She yawned. Why is this in my name? I asked. It's in both our names, she said like a peace offering. Partnership, babe. You signed for me, I said. There's a signature. She sat up and crossed her legs and pulled the blanket around her shoulders like a robe. I used the digital thing, she said. We talked about that. You said you didn't care. I said I didn't care about a streaming app, I said. I didn't say yes to a line of credit. Her face did the thing it does when reality gets in the way. A small blink, a tiny tilt, then a nod as if she had found the right angle for the lie. Okay, she said. I hear you. I'll move it. Give me a week. A week later, the bank called again. We tried counseling. She performed openness for the therapist like she was on stage. She leaned forward, knuckles under chin, and said, I'm eager to do the work. We left with homework. I was to voice needs. She was to practice transparency. I voiced. She practiced. The night it broke, she wasn't careful. She was live streaming a Q&A from the kitchen, hair ring lit into the soft kind of perfection the algorithm rewards. Her voice was honeyed. She talked about trust scaffolding. She talked about honoring commitments. She held up a printed workbook and smiled into the camera. I stood in the hallway where she couldn't see me, reading the invoice on the printer, still warm to the touch. Brand partnership proposal with my name as guarantor. The cool thing about humiliation is how it gives you clarity. Fear makes fog. Humiliation cuts it down like a highway plow. I looked at the printer, at her laptop, at the phone propped on an overturned mug. I looked at the ring light haloed like a weapon, and I looked at her smiling mouth forming the words authentic relationship. I walked in front of the camera. The chat exploded. OMG, is that your husband? He looks so supportive. Heart, heart, heart. I'm done, I said. My voice was very calm. It startled me. You're done. She muted the live like a magician palming a coin. She smiled into the lens and said, 1 second, loves. And then the camera went black. What? She said to me, eyes flat. I'm closing the accounts, I said. Every account with my name on it. I'm calling the bank. I'm calling a notary in the morning. You can keep the business you built with a ring light and a mother's maiden name. I'm keeping myself. You can't, she said. Contracts. You forged my consent, I said. You committed identity fraud. She grinned. Small. Pitying. No DA touches domestic disputes over a line of credit that funds a business owned by both spouses. Grow up. That part was true. Crime is only what someone will prosecute. I wasn't going to the police. I wasn't going to sue the person I still loved like a limb that had turned gangrenous. I was going to amputate. She went to sleep angry and woke up calculating. I drank coffee, standing at the sink, and made a list. It wasn't a revenge plan. Not yet. It was triage. Freeze these, close those, change passwords, change mail forwarding, call HR about paycheck deposit. I spent the morning undoing the administrative rope around my throat. At noon, she texted me from the upstairs office. We need to talk strategy before you do anything irreversible. I texted back, I already did. At 2 p.m., the first email arrived. We noticed changes to your payment method. Her business software had the politeness of a concierge. At 5 p.m., she came downstairs and said, Light, so, you decided to sabotage your wife. I decided, I said, to stop funding your fiction. You'll be back, she said. She looked at my hands. You don't have the stomach for consequences. She believed that. She had graphs to prove it. The last time we almost split, I folded because I loved her. I came back with flowers because romantic gestures make good content. She had learned that love in our house was a room she decorated. This time I left my phone on the counter and my keys on the hook and took only a backpack. No monologue, no warning, no apology. I checked into a motel with a bedspread patterned like a migraine. I slept like a sack of hammers. Morning was clean. I called the bank when their recording said, "Welcome to business hours." And then I called a lawyer who specialized in boring victories. He taught me the phrase equitable distribution and told me to make copies of everything. He used the word exposure the way my body uses the word bruise. I would have ended it there if she'd let me. She didn't. She opened a new account, in my name again, and fed it ads like sugar. The bank flagged it and called me. I said I didn't authorize it. They closed it. She opened another. She had become addicted to momentum. Stopping was extinction. That's when revenge turned from idea to muscle. I didn't hit back with police or shouting. I worked where she lived. Reputation. She didn't have a business without a story people wanted to attach their hope to. I didn't need to lie. I needed to hold up a mirror at an angle that ruined her lighting. I started with her origin myth. The internet loves a phoenix. She had one. Teen mom turned entrepreneur. Broke to 6 figures in 2 years. Reclaimed love, etc. Some of it was true. Some of it was accessorized. The places she named as stepping stones had alumni lists. The nonprofits she loved to tag had staff directories. The tears she cried on podcasts could be cross-checked against tax records. I didn't build a takedown. I built an archive. Every claim got a folder. Every folder got a timeline. Screenshots layered on screenshots until they looked like shingles under fingers that knew where water leaks. I kept my hands clean. I didn't hack. I didn't trespass. I used what she gave the world for free. When I had enough to paint a picture any reasonable person could recognize, I started to pull threads. Not public posts, private emails, courteous notes to the brands she courted. You may want to confirm the following before the campaign launches. It would be a shame if something were questioned after the fact bullet points. Links, a tone that sounded like legal counsel, not like a bitter spouse. I used a new email address, one that looked like a consultancy. The signature used a serif font. People trust serifs. Brands paused. PR people live to preempt disasters. They asked her for documentation she once waved like a baton. She scrambled. She sent files. Some were real, many were weird. She got defensive at the wrong moment and charming at the wrong person. Executives don't like drama in their inbox. Influencers are replaceable. A sponsorship disappeared, then another. There were no press releases, just, "We're going in a different direction." Emails with exclamation points like confetti trying to be cheerful while the birthday cake burns. She came to the motel on a Tuesday at noon like a storm in heels. She didn't knock. She pounded. "You're emailing my partners," she said. I'm emailing people who deserve to know what they're buying, I said. You want to destroy me, she said. You'll look like the abuser by Friday. I will make sure of it. You've been training for this your whole life, I said. Make sure you pick a good filter. She stepped into the room and looked at the bed like it had insulted her. Do you know what you're doing? She said. Without me, you are wallpaper. Without you, I said, I am oxygen. She laughed. It was short and mean. She left, with a twist of perfume meant to leave a memory behind. I opened the window and let the air from the highway wash it out. She did what she threatened, a post titled, When the Person You Trust Becomes Unsafe. She was careful. She didn't name me. She alluded. She described covert financial abuse, which was a fun inversion of our reality. Her audience clapped. The comments filled with prayer hands and swords. I didn't answer online. I didn't argue in her theater. I wrote to her payment processor instead with documents. When the processor asked to verify the identity on the account, she sent a driver's license scan that belonged to me. The email thread is a legal kind of poetry. The processor froze the account pending investigation. Frozen accounts are colder than divorces. She panicked. She made a video crying in the car. People love a car cry. They call it vulnerable, the equivalent of a confessional with a seatbelt. Her ring light couldn't soften the sun. The video did numbers. It didn't do money. She had bills attached to subscriptions attached to subscriptions. Automation is a beautiful noose. I took the quiet roads. I withdrew authorization for anything linked to my employer-provided benefits. She called HR, and the woman in HR said pleasantly, "We're not at liberty to discuss spousal benefits during a legal separation." Mara didn't like the phrase legal separation. She liked conscious uncoupling and paused to recalibrate. The court liked dates and signatures. She filed first, not because she wanted out, but because she wanted to frame the narrative. She asked for spousal support, half the assets, continuance of status. My lawyer smiled without his eyes and said, "We'll see." People imagine court like television. It's not. It's fluorescent lights and calendars and a bench that smells like pencil shavings. We sat on opposite ends of a wooden pew, like two teenagers waiting to get scolded by a vice principal. She wore an outfit that said competent grief. I wore a suit that said I still have a job. The judge didn't care for either of our costumes. The judge liked documents. The processor's emails were documents. The bank's fraud notices were documents. The notarized statement from the notary who did not remember me appearing for a line of credit was a document. The judge said phrases like forensic accounting and temporary orders. Mara's face slackened in increments. "Mr. Hale," the judge said to me, "my temporary order will freeze any account with both names pending audit. You will each submit full statements, no new debts, no new lines. Ms. Hale, if anything else is open using your husband's identity, this court will consider sanctions." Sanctions sounded like a word that could finally hurt her. She made 2 more videos about resilience. She gave a talk titled, "When Love Isn't Safe But You Are," and sold tickets. Half the people in the room were her followers. The other half were women looking for a way out of places worse than mine. I wanted to storm the stage and shout the receipts. I didn't. Those women didn't need me complicating what little lifeline they believed they saw. Instead, I called her vendors, the ones who printed her workbooks, the ones who shipped her journals, the woman who rented her a post office box with a boutique address. I told them, politely, that invoices over a certain amount should require a signature from me as well per court order. They didn't verify the order. They verified that their risk would suddenly have a face and a judge. Vendors like to keep judges out of their lunch breaks. Orders slowed. Boxes didn't arrive on time. Refunds took the shine off her smile. She fired off texts at 2 in the morning. "You love to ruin. You could have left. You had to scorch earth." I typed and deleted the sentence I wanted to send. I typed a better one. I did leave. Earth was already on fire. I just stopped fanning your flames. The second phase of revenge wasn't professional. It was personal, and it was legal. She had collected people the way some people collect houseplants. Pretty, curated, and ignored when not photogenic. One of those people was her younger sister, Liv, the one she paraded in glow-up photos without noticing the bruises that weren't visible. Liv called me. She didn't want reconciliation. She wanted a ride to the DMV and a witness for a name change. I took her. I signed. She cried the kind of tears that don't ask anyone to watch. There are moments in a divorce when you realize you're moving other people out of the same burning building you escaped. I didn't do it for virtue. I did it because Mara had built a little world where everyone fed her, and I wanted the world to learn hunger. Sponsorships kept falling. She tried to pivot to healing through heartbreak. There are infinite markets for new persona. The problem was the audit. The court-ordered accountant is a slow, patient animal. They don't care about the internet. They care about receipts. Receipts didn't love her like followers did. The day the accountant's report landed, my lawyer made a small, satisfied sound. Here, he said, tapping a section. Pattern of unauthorized accounts, pattern of misrepresentation, business expenses not segregated, money pulled through personal lines in other parties' name. This is what we needed. What does that mean? I said. It means, he said, that support will not flow the way she planned. It also means the judge is about to remove her favorite word. Access Mara still had an audience. She still had a look. She still had moxie. She didn't have cash. The processor closed her account permanently. The backup processor said no, politely. The third-tier processor said yes, then changed its mind when it learned what the first two knew. She could still sell PDFs. PDFs do not pay rent. She called me again. I didn't answer. She sent an email with the subject line, "One last thing." I opened it. It was short. "You win. Come home. We can fix this if you stop." I typed, "There isn't a home. There's a set. The set is closing." She replied, "You're cruel." I replied, "I'm accurate." It kept getting smaller for her. For me, it got quiet. Quiet feels like oxygen after 2 years of performative love. I stopped checking her accounts like a jealous ghost. I learned how to cook for one. My heart stopped jerking every time a notification appeared. When the decree finally came, it wasn't dramatic. It was a PDF with signatures. The judge divided property like slicing a pie made of paper. She kept her business, what was left of it anyway. I kept the car, the retirement account, my name. The judge ordered her to reimburse certain charges. The numbers weren't huge. They were moral. They were a wire fence around the phrase mine. I saw her one last time before I stopped seeing her at all. Grocery store. Middle of the day. She was at the self-checkout with a basket holding cabbage, rice, off-brand toothpaste, and 2 cans of something on sale. No ring light, no script. She scanned, bagged, paid with a prepaid card, flinched when it asked for a second form. Hunks of glamour fell off her like wet plaster. She looked up and saw me and tried to assemble a face that could hold both of us. "Daniel," she said, as if saying my name could undo what she'd done to it. I nodded. I didn't stop. "You want a moral?" "There isn't one. She didn't go to prison. I didn't become a saint. She built herself out of other people until the other people left. I stopped being one of them. That's all. I didn't hurt her body. I didn't break the law. I broke the story. I took the cameras away. Now she lives in a smaller apartment with a window that faces a brick wall, making videos to an audience that dwindles in the comments. She sells templates and promises. It pays just enough to keep the lights on. She taught me how to breathe through a lie. I taught her how a life looks when the lie is all that's left. He, me, walks out of that store and never looks back. She is still there, counting, recalculating, rearranging the basket of a life that no longer fits into a squared frame. I didn't kill her brand. I starved it. She can barely make ends meet. And I sleep.